Chapter 11, Supply Chain Management. Outline: the supply chain's strategic importance. Sourcing issues, make or buy versus outsourcing. 6 sourcing strategies. Supply chain risk. Managing the integrated supply chain. Building the supply base. Logistics management. Distribution management. Ethics and sustainable supply chain management. Measuring supply chain performance. Learning objectives. When you complete this chapter, you should be able to explain the strategic importance of the supply chain, identify 6 sourcing strategies, explain issues and opportunities in the supply chain, describe the steps in supplier selection, explain major issues in logistics management, compute % of assets committed to inventory and inventory turnover. The objective of supply chain management is to coordinate activities within the supply chain to maximize the supply chain's competitive advantage and benefits to the ultimate consumer. The supply chain's strategic importance. The coordination of all supply chain activities, starting with raw materials and ending with a satisfied customer. This includes suppliers, manufacturers or service providers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, and final customer. Most firms spend a huge portion of their sales dollars on purchases. Because an increasing percentage of an organization's costs are determined by purchasing, relationships with suppliers are increasingly integrated and long-term. Combined efforts that improve innovation, speed design, and reduce costs are common. Such efforts, when part of a corporate-wide strategy, can dramatically improve all partners' competitiveness. This integrated focus places added emphasis on managing supplier relationships. As Table 11.1 indicates, a huge part of a firm's revenue is typically spent on purchases, so supply chains are a good place to look for savings. Howley Furniture Incorporated spends 60% of its sales dollars in the supply chain and has a current gross profit of $10,000. Howe wishes to increase gross profit by $5,000, 50%. He would like to compare 2 strategies, reducing material costs versus increasing sales. Solution: the current material costs and production costs are 60% and 20%, respectively, of sales dollars, with fixed cost at a constant $10,000. Analysis indicates that an improvement in the supply chain that would reduce material costs by 8.3%, which is $5,000 divided by $60,000, would produce a 50% net profit gain for Howe, whereas a much larger 25% increase in sales, $25,000 divided by $100,000, would be required to produce the same result. A supply chain for beer. The supply chain includes all the interactions among suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and customers. A well-functioning supply chain has information flowing between all partners. The chain includes transportation, scheduling information, cash and credit transfers, as well as ideas, designs, and material transfers. Even can and bottle manufacturers have their own tiers of suppliers providing components such as lids, labels, packing containers, etc. Costs are approximate and include substantial taxes. As suggested in Table 11.2, a firm needs to determine strategically how to design the supply chain. However, prior to embarking on supply chain design, operations managers must first consider the make or buy and outsourcing decisions. As we saw in Chapter 5, choosing products and services that can be advantageously obtained externally as opposed to produced internally is known as the make or buy decision. Outsourcing, on the other hand, transfers some of what are traditional internal activities and resources of a firm to outside vendors, making it slightly different from the traditional make or buy decision. Outsourcing, discussed in Chapter 2, is part of the continuing trend toward using the efficiency that comes with specialization. The vendor performing the outsourced service is an expert in that particular specialty. This leaves the outsourcing firm to focus on its key success factors and its core competencies. There are 6 sourcing strategies. With the many suppliers strategy, a supplier responds to the demands and specifications of a request for quotation, with the order usually going to the low bidder. This is a common strategy when products are commodities. This strategy plays one supplier against another and places the burden of meeting the buyer's demands on the supplier. Suppliers aggressively compete with one another. This approach holds the supplier responsible for maintaining the necessary technology, expertise, and forecasting abilities, as well as cost, quality, and delivery competencies. Long-term partnering relationships are not the goal. A strategy of few suppliers implies that rather than looking for short-term attributes, such as low cost, a buyer is better off forming a long-term relationship with a few dedicated suppliers. Long-term suppliers are more likely to understand the broad objectives of the procuring firm and the end customer. Using few suppliers can create value by allowing suppliers to have economies of scale and a learning curve that yields both lower transaction costs and lower production costs. This strategy also encourages those suppliers to provide design innovations and technological expertise. As with all other strategies, a downside exists. With few suppliers, the cost of changing partners is huge, so both buyer and supplier run the risk of becoming captives of the other. The purchaser must also be concerned about trade secrets and suppliers that make other alliances or venture out on their own. As shown in Figure 11.2, vertical integration can take the form of forward or backward integration. In vertical integration, we mean developing the ability to produce goods or services previously purchased or to actually buy a supplier or a distributor. Backward integration suggests a firm purchase its suppliers. Vertical integration can offer a strategic opportunity for the operations manager. For firms with the capital, managerial talent, and required demand, vertical integration may provide substantial opportunities for cost reduction, higher quality, timely delivery, and inventory reduction. Vertical integration appears to work best when the organization has a large market share and the management talent to operate an acquired vendor successfully. Backward integration may be particularly dangerous for firms in industries undergoing technological change if management cannot keep abreast of those changes or invest the financial resources necessary for the next wave of technology. Because vertical integration is so dangerous, firms may opt for some form of formal collaboration. As we noted in Chapter 5, firms may engage in collaboration to enhance their new product prowess or technological skills. But firms also engage in collaboration to secure supply or reduce costs. The trick is to cooperate without diluting the brand or conceding a competitive advantage. Keiretsu networks. Many large Japanese manufacturers have found another strategy. It is part collaboration, part purchasing from few suppliers, and part vertical integration. These manufacturers are often financial supporters of suppliers through ownership or loans. The supplier becomes part of a company coalition known as a keiretsu. Members of the keiretsu are assured long-term relationships and are therefore expected to collaborate as partners, providing technical expertise and stable quality production to the manufacturer. Members of the keiretsu can also have second and even third-tier suppliers as part of the coalition. Virtual companies rely on a variety of good, Stable supplier relationships to provide services on demand. Suppliers may provide a variety of services that include doing the payroll, hiring personnel, designing products, providing consulting services, manufacturing components, conducting tests, or distributing products. The relationships may be short or long-term and may include true partners, collaborators, or simply able suppliers and subcontractors. Whatever the formal relationship, the result can be exceptionally lean performance. The advantages of virtual companies include specialized management expertise, low capital investment, flexibility, and speed. The result is efficiency. We are not done yet. Part 2 is waiting for you.